Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Coach McVay Show, presented by Microsoft Surface. I'm JB, along with the head coach of your Los Angeles Rams, now the winningest coach in Rams football history, Sean McVay. DeMarco Farr is busy watching the Dodgers, I assume.
There you go.
But he'll be back shortly.
Yeah.
And we look forward to having him back. How was your mini-buy?
It was good. It was pretty cool that, I had a couple days. Mom set up a birthday for a little guy, even though we know it was on Thursday, and he probably won't remember it, but he was having fun. He had a smile on his face. Mom had a smile on his face. My parents were in town. And so it was really good to be able to get, recharge, refresh, but really get some good quality time with them. And pretty special that, our guys played the way that I think they're capable of. And now let's see if we can build on this momentum.
Reflecting a little bit on 80 wins over the weekend, that truly involves hundreds of players now in 8 years and dozens of coaches too. That's an astounding amount of human beings that have contributed to all that.
It is. When you've heard me talk about it, and we've talked about it over the years, JB, that football is the greatest team sport that there is. And to be a part of that with, like you mentioned, so many special players, so many special coaches that have all been instrumental in helping us, respond from some of the tough setbacks, or to be able to do some of the special things, whether those are playoff wins, whether those are division wins, or being able to win a conference, win a championship, win a Super Bowl. And so a lot of special memories, a lot of special moments in those locker rooms afterwards. And you can never really simulate, the real and raw emotion of the work that it takes to do what that group did. And to be able to come away with the result, those are special moments that you'll always cherish.
Any guesses how many different Rams have scored a touchdown for you over the years?
Oh, man, I wouldn't even.
I went and counted.
Did you?
I came up with 49.
Is it 49?
49 regular season, postseason.
That's incredible.
From Alec Ogletree to Van Jefferson and Lance Dunbar to Todd Gurley.
How about that?
Kind of a blast from the past, right?
That is cool. That's really cool. And it's funny because my dad's a proud Indiana Hoosier alum right now. They're rolling, and I saw a stat that they have 15 different guys that have scored an offensive touchdown this year, I believe. And so 49 is a pretty good number over the last 8 years, or 7.5, if you will.
Stu Jackson, too. Tim and Stu need to get together on that.
That's right.
Ball out on the Hoosiers. All right, let's reflect on that win of the Vikings on Thursday Night Football, with which the Rams improved to 3-4. Is it really as simple as you get a Super Bowl MVP, Triple Crown winner back, and a record-setting rookie receiver too, and everything clicks back into place?
Well, I think those guys made a tremendous difference. But the power of the mind and being able to have, your full group, and then some of the depth that's been established in those guys' absence is real. But they were certainly huge boosts, to our team. But I think the defense has been trending in the right direction. I think our special teams has made a lot of timely plays, and thought number 9 played the way that he's capable of. And really, he was electric. He had that look in his eye. And when he's motivated like that, a lot of good things can happen. Kyron's really been doing a great job. And so they certainly added a huge boost. And I think they gave a spark and a confidence to the rest of the team. But, man, it truly was a really good team win that we had the other night.
Felt like all 4 touchdowns were special. Maybe we can relive each one of them. You mentioned a couple of names there, Matthew and Kyron. How about the way your tailback releases inside of that end?
Oh, yeah, exactly by design.
I'm sure.
Yeah, no.
What did that look like on film?
I'll tell you what, that's called a good feel. You had a tight end attached to kind of be in a nudge position. Grenard ended up even widening even, further outside, and based on where Pace Jr. ended up kind of just, pre-snap his kind of disguise to try to elicit certain things in the protection, I thought it was a good feel by Kyron. We had motion on the right side of the screen. And so you look at it, and when he started to arc, he's like, all right, well, this guy is just continuing to rush up the field. I slipped him in, and it allowed him to be able to create that natural leverage. I thought that was, sometimes it's cool to be able to just see the natural, authentic reactions from instinctual players in real time. And I thought that's exactly what Kyron did. And I wish I could say that's exactly how we drew it up.
I know the next one wasn't how you drew it up either. Matthew and Cooper have connected 35 times for touchdowns in their brief time together. I get the sense that most recent one is going to be remembered fondly for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, that was special, and I think just because of, I thought our offensive line was outstanding the other night. They did a great job, but that was one of the few times where, they ended up getting home with the rush, and Matthew avoided, and to be able to go underneath, to be able to kind of pull out with that strength, and then to be able to have his eyes down the field and find Cooper was was really impressive. And that was, could see, he was just kind of feeling it the other night. And to be able to move like that on a Thursday night at 36 years old was pretty impressive.
Cooper now needs 4 more catches and 1 receiving touchdown to be sole third in Rams history in both categories.
Oh, wow.
And then it's Isaac and Torrey, the only guys he's looking up. That feels right, doesn't it?
That does.
Feels appropriate.
It does. I mean, you look at what he's done through 7.5 years, the consistency, the work ethic, the way that he goes about influencing and affecting his teammates. It feels like an appropriate spot amongst 2 guys. Obviously Isaac's in, and I wouldn't be surprised at some point if Torrey's putting a gold jacket on himself.
Long overdue. Got to make that happen. We're going to focus on Puka's blocking here. He also had over 100 yards receiving, but what he did on that 4th down play to make sure that Kyren gets the line to gain.
Yeah, it was really impressive. I mean, you look at it, we had run the same play on the previous play. Kind of short motion him in there, didn't really get, a clean block. And there was some inside penetration on the 4th down, but you could see as Kyren kind of jump cut it and bounced it outside, Puka timed it up to be able to get his hat in front of a really physical player in Josh Metellus. And, those are the things that everybody wants to see, the stats, the production. But when you hear Puka talk about the passion that he has for blocking, that's one of the things that I think you've missed as much as anything is what he contributes as part of the blocking surface where, this is a major factor in our run game, a difference maker. And there's just this energy that he has with the ball, but also without the ball that makes him as special as he is. It was awesome.
Would you call him a war daddy?
Yeah, I did.
I think on the Sean McVay power rankings, it's like he's a G, he's a man, he's a war daddy. Am I missing any?
No, you know me. I'm pretty predictable, I guess. So, but that is up there, and that's one of the highest compliments that I can give.
I know it. That was Puka's 8th career 100-yard performance. He's played 19 games, same total as Justin Jefferson had in his first 20. Only one player in league history has more, and that's OBJ with 10 100-yard performances in his first 20. That's
a cool stat.
Elite company. Demarcus Robinson clearly benefited from having his running mates back, didn't he?
He did. And really, you look at it and it was a timely, he ended up doing a great job on some routes where it's like, all right, maybe I will, maybe I won't get the football, but it shows you that he's ready to roll. On his first touchdown, thought it was a great release that he had on Griffin, was able to work that edge. Great job by Matthew identifying and getting that ball up and down. And then it was a swaggy celebration that he had. My favorite thing about that was all 10 of his teammates on the field ended up coming and celebrating with him. And then you look at the excitement on the sidelines. Dan Demetrison did a good job of letting that one play for a while. And then on the second touchdown, great patience, with where he was on the backside of that concept. Really had a good, internal clock in terms of how to be able to set that and sell that route that he was running right there. And then I thought for Matthew to be able to really exhaust his progression, get all the way through it in the timing that he did, those are one of those plays where you're like, man, he is seeing it and he's dialed for how quickly he was able to get through it and to be in sync with DeMarcus on that. That was a really sharp, well-executed play. 2 big catches. And then I thought he competed well in the run game as well.
Sure.
Took good angles of departure and did a good job of being able to get a hat on a hat in the run game.
That second one you mentioned, that's against Harrison, future Hall of Fame safety, and they're dropping 8 in the red area there.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
The timing on that had to be nails.
It was, and it got it back. He was really the widest. We had Kyren on a wide out there, and then we were kind of chipping the tight end to that side. But you look at it, it got a half-field player to kind of be able to squeeze back, and then we ended up hitting that void right in between that cloud corner and where Harrison Smith was. And you mentioned it, versus a drop 8, typically you wouldn't have to progress. But with that extra underneath defender that they had front side, Matthew recognized it, got through it. I thought the protection held up really well because even though it is a 3-man rush, the way that those guys disperse pre-snap, it doesn't always allow you to be able to get some of the double teams. And I thought our guys did a great job right there, and that was big time.
One more on the offense, especially because I know that you're getting close to having all of your horses back. Offensive line in particular, anyone we can look forward to this week joining the fray?
We'll see. I was just talking to Reggie before we got down here, and guys are making good progress as far as where Jonah and where Steve are at. I don't know that exactly yet. Would they be candidates to return against Seattle? That seems like that would be presumptuous. But Joe Noteboom, we've started his clock. It's good to be able to have him out there. And then I think these guys, you look at the comfort and the confidence that can be established over a period of time when you are playing together. I think for Bo Limmer, to do some of the things that he did the other night, JB. I was really pleased and impressed based on all the different conflicts that Brian Flores and his defense presents with guys that can play in a bunch of different spots. Justin Dedich in his second start's done a really good job. Thought Alaric had one of his better games. Yeah. And then K-Dot and Rob are, consistent, figures that we're comfortable with. But I thought Alaric really did an excellent job against one of the premier rushers in this league that has had a really great season up to this date. And I thought he did a good job of regulating him.
Yeah. I don't think this defense is the same one we saw in September, not in terms of personnel, not in terms of performance. Fair to continue to elevate that bar for them as they grow together?
I think so. And I think, if we're able to play in some of the situations where we're doing what we should do as a team offensively, then it earns the opportunity for some of these guys to really come to life. And let's get into some of those known pass situations. Let's make people play from behind. But I think you're only seeing a guy like Jared Verse continue to elevate his game. I think you're seeing Michael Hoecht do a great job in a variety of roles. Byron Young, is continuing to do a really good job. And when you've got those guys on the edges really solidifying things, you see the influence that Gift Smith's had on the interior parts of the D-line. I think Kobe Turner's playing his best ball right now. I thought Bobby Brown and really Braden Fisk both made their presence felt. Tyler Davis is a young guy that's getting better and better. And then Aubrey's leadership on the back end, and it was good to be able to get Omar Spates in there the other night. I thought he did a nice job. Jalen McCullough continues to be a really productive rookie for us. He's already got 3 picks, but I thought one of the better plays he made was on the 2nd and 15, reading out of the stack and making a tackle to force a 3rd down and 9. That when Justin Jefferson gets the ball in his hands, usually, you're always kind of holding your breath to get him down.
Speaking of Justin Jefferson, he makes that miraculous catch down the sideline, and then D. Will rallies to kind of put your defense in an entirely different position.
Yeah, it's funny. When we were talking a little bit beforehand, you talk about what are some plays that really epitomize what you want this Rams group to be. And that 2-play sequence is one of them for me, because we always talk about the response, and they've got a screen on and they throw a run alert because they're in man coverage on the outside, and Jefferson makes a great play, but it's a great play because Darius is in a great position as well. He kind of bobbles it. And then it's all about what is our response. And he ends up making a great tackle on Aaron Jones, forces a negative gain right there. And that set us up to be able to force that to be really, ultimately, that ended up being really a 4-point play in my mind. And we needed that. That held them, and that, we ended up holding them right there. That response I thought was so reflective of who we want to be and what this team's about with what Darius did. The other one that came to mind is really first play of the game. Puka drops the play. We come right back to him the next play, makes a great catch on the screen. Alaric gets out in front and he gets 13 yards, and now we're going. But both guys, this is part of the game, is you're going to have some adversity, but what do you do as a response? What does that confidence look like to be able to respond the way that we're capable of? And I thought both of those individuals in those moments, that was reflective of real things that occur and the mindset and mentality that we want to have as Rams.
I'm reminded to ask, who ran that defense? Your first start without Troy Reeder, who was the green dot kind of coordinating everything.
Yeah,
there.
Quentin Lake, he did a great job. And Quentin, he's so smart, he's so conscientious. He plays a variety of roles for us. I thought he did an outstanding job of being able to communicate. And again, I think Chris Shula, Aubrey Pleasant, really our defensive staff as a whole have done a really great job of connecting with these players, putting them in spots to be able to thrive. And I think you're seeing the confidence, the energy, the edge that these guys are playing with. And we're starting to see a lot more consistent execution. And that's what we're looking for.
Got to get Captain Q his first pick. I'm reminded of that breakout performance in Seattle a couple years ago when he had one. I feel like his time is coming. Maybe he's going back to Seattle this week.
That's right. But he has made a tremendous impact, and he can do so many different things, but he's had to kind of fill in where needed because, all right, hey, you're such a good football player, but hey, how do we get our best 11? And that might mean, you're adjusting to some different things that you were thinking you were going to do, but I can't say enough about the leadership, the presence, his ability to communicate and bring others with him. That C on his chest has been well earned, and all he is doing is continuing to thrive and just continue to grow.
So he had the comms in his helmet, but Jared Verse was wearing the mic. Did you enjoy that?
I
catch
did.
That this weekend?
Yeah, I did. I caught that. That was fun. I'll enjoy showing a couple clips in the team meeting. Guys will get a kick out of that. But that was one of the things that you loved about him coming out of Florida State. And, he has fun. He gets so excited for his teammates. And then, he's a talker, man. And but what he's able to do is he's able to have that controlled aggression in his own way. That is true and authentic to his personality. I thought he was still able to be, totally locked in. And I did get a chance to see that. I was very entertained for the 6 minutes or however long that mic'd up lasted.
He flips the switch, though, because afterwards he's following up with guys, making sure Darrisaw's okay. Like, hey, thanks for making me better.
That's right. Yeah. And you could see the respect that those guys had for him, for Chris Cooper, their O-line coach, to go seek him out, for him to say to O'Neal, hey, I got better. He respects this game, and he's a competitor in the moment that's going to be able to have his fun, but he has a lot of respect for his opponents and how challenging it is to do the things that he's done through the first, handful of weeks.
You touched on something there that I was reminded of watching you draft this spring, whether it was him, whether it was Fisk. I think Brennan Jackson, now that he's playing too, like this organization intentionally selected toughness.
Yes.
Like you were preparing not just for the lack of production without Aaron Donald, but like that demeanor, that disposition.
I think you're right. And I think that serves you really well in general. I think tough times don't last, tough people do. And you want mentally and physically tough players. In this league, when you look at it, whether it's as a fan yesterday or just in general, those teams that have a certain edge and an energy, they last, they get better as the seasons go. And I think you bet on those kinds of people. And you mentioned it. A lot of those guys, they're checking the boxes for that prototype that we're looking for. And I think when you mentioned some of the guys that were bright spots the other night, there's a toughness. You talk about the spark that Puka Nacua provides or Kyron Williams. Those guys play with an energy, but they play with a mental and a physical toughness that's on display. Matthew Stafford did that the other night, and then defensively, obviously, Jared Verse is a big benefactor of that.
You dropped Hoecht's name in there too, and I love that because you basically recalibrated a whole edge roster around him, and he just won't go away. He won't take no for an answer. It's still the undrafted Ivy League guy there.
Yeah, and he does a great job. And he had a swaggy LA celebration again that he had brought out against the Niners last year. But he has really, I think he's been a guy that's been that has earned the right to say, all right, where is the versatile role that I can play because of this skill set that I can provide and some of the different conflict positions that you can put offenses in based on his versatility. I've been really impressed with him. He's been a great leader too. You look at the experience that he's had, how he's enabled that to translate to, the way that he communicates with Jared Verse, with Byron Young, and the respect that those guys have for him. Obviously, Joe Caniglia does a great job with that room. But I think Michael Hoecht, I've been really pleased with him, and he's earned a lot of the positive accolades that have come his way. And he and Versal, those guys were game ball recipients from last Thursday.
Speaking of, I've heard you say a couple of times you owe Ethan Evans one.
I do.
Did he catch one?
Oh yeah, he'll get one.
Okay.
We'll celebrate that, and we'll also use it as an opportunity to kind of jumpstart the week. It seems like we played the Vikings like 3 years ago now, but he did a great job. I thought 2 of his punts were key and critical, being able to pin those guys deep. Even on the other one, I thought Xavier and Charles Woods did a nice job of having a positive net. And then as a holder, people forget, as a holder, and then, we're approaching the kickoffs. For the most part, we're saying, let's kick touchbacks. And he's been 100% on that.
I think it's 2 games in 27 days, to your point about like how wide the gap has been. And clearly you guys needed that.
Yeah.
But I'm not naive to the fact that on the other side, now there's 10 in a row, hopefully more, right?
Yep.
And I hope this group has been able to build that callus to sustain, because we all know the adversity is not over.
No doubt. And really, this season, there's just so many ebbs and flows, and you can't ride that emotional roller coaster. What I've been really pleased with, though, JB, is there's been a lot of things that have been thrown this team's way in an early, in a short amount of time, especially early on in the season. But it doesn't seem like it was that long ago when we were coming back off the bye and you're sitting there saying, hey, here's where we are. But let's take an honest reflection of what we've done over these first 5 games, where we're headed, what's on the horizon in terms of getting some guys back. And couldn't have been more pleased with the way that they handled that 5-day stretch where you play on a Sunday and then on a Thursday. And then I'm looking forward to seeing us come back and be able to capitalize on the momentum that they've been able to earn. But every single week is a new week. Humility is only a day away in this league, but I do trust that our guys will use the things that they've learned through the first 7 weeks to catapult us forward to be the best that we can be.
Hey, what'd you make of that Vikings onside kick? I don't know that I've ever seen anything like that.
Yeah, that was wild.
Just
right?
skied one up into the end.
And you know what? That might have been the best catch I saw all night. By Kyron to be able to end that, and so they'll do that after a safety. And but that thing hung up forever, and that was an impressive catch by Kyron.
How about last night's Hail Mary in Washington?
That was wild. I was watching that game and, you could see Washington had pretty good control of the game throughout. But Chicago does a great job of forcing you not to be able to finish some of those drives with touchdowns in the red area. They found a way to get hot at the right time. And then for them to take a 15-12 lead. But what a job by Washington, to be able to take the speed out to get him an extra 13 yards. And then I think Jaden Daniels scrambles around for about 13 seconds. And man, every single week when you think you just say, no, you don't know. And they've got, DQ is an easy guy to root for. Yeah. Obviously, I'm friends with Cliff Kingsbury, and Jaden Daniels has a really cool, calm way about himself. And even just watching him get interviewed with Tracy Wolfson after the game, just how calm he was. I would have been a lot more jacked up. But football's fun. I like being a fan and just watching too.
Are those circumstances you rehearse every week or monthly, or
yeah,
just
you go
going back
over
to training
those,
camp?
The end of the game stuff and the end of the half, those are things that you want to try to make sure that you're covering so there's an understanding. Yeah. Now, what is challenging is it's hard to simulate those things in full speed situations, but you talk about a box out, having a front tip and a back tip guy, and clearly, that was a great throw, and what a fortuitous bounce, for Stevenson to be able to kind of tip it to Noah Brown by himself in the back of the end zone.
When you're looking at it through an offensive lens, are you pleased? Are you relieved when the defense doesn't come after you? Like when they play coverage, when they play prevent?
Yeah,
like,
I know
prefer that to like getting blitzed or something?
I think so. I mean, you look at, there's some teams have some different approaches, but the best Hail Mary examples I've seen are usually when there's the least amount of rushers and the most amount of time to be able to let guys get down in position. Even a couple weeks ago, I want to say it was a 2-man rush that the Jets had when they ended up throwing their Hail Mary at the end of the first half, I believe against Buffalo. But those are the ones that, that come to mind that seem like they're the most successful. But I think Rodgers had one when Arizona blitzed them a couple years ago, but usually
that's the counter example for sure. Scoreboard watching is dangerous though, because even though it's early in the season, or it feels like still, now you look at the division and maybe you didn't get the outcomes that the NFC West competitors we were hoping for, but 4 teams, 4 losses, got to go get it yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the thing you just said is what we've learned, especially over, just really the tenure in general, is worry about what you can control. And there's so much football left to be played. There's so many things that will happen from now until the end of the season. And what I have been pleased with is I think we have done a pretty good job of being inside out. You as a fan, you're watching and you want certain results, but it's like, does that really matter if we don't continue to handle what we're supposed to handle? And the only way that you can really watch those games with a real intrigue and an interest is if you continue to handle your business. And so that's what I'm focused on. That's what our coaches and our players will be focused on this week. And we know it's going to be a great challenge going into a hostile environment, division opponent on the road.
Yeah, week 9 in Seattle in search of the Rams' first road win. I was reminiscing about what a special trip that was last year and just how fast the NFL world spins. Like, Kyron didn't have an NFL touchdown before you took that trip last year.
Is that right? Yeah, wow.
Puka Nacua is probably owned on like 0.01% of all fantasy football teams before that trip. Kobe and Byron first sack together, and now here you are a year and change later, and those are household names.
No question.
Rams.
And that's, I remember even going into last season, there was a lot of people that, nobody knew about, but we had confidence that they could be the players that they've developed into, and they're going to continue to develop into. And, what a cool story every year has. And as long as you grab the pen and write it on your terms within the framework of the things that you can control, you can look back on it with no regrets. And looking forward to attacking this week with this group.
Have a good rest of your Monday night. Thanks as always for stopping by. There's a Halloween party coming in too. We got to clear out.
That's what I heard.
Coaches and their families. All right, looking forward to the costumes. For Sean McVay, I'm JB Long. Thank you for joining us for the Coach McVay Show, presented by Microsoft Surface.